You're still with Cynthia, Brave Business Conversations, and we are here in the studio with Cherie-Anne and Greg. They are from Unividual. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning or
afternoon now. Definitely
afternoon.
It's just been sunny all day.
Yeah, that's all I care about.
It's so good to have you. You are the first studio guest I've had since a very, 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 very long time.
Privileged.
It's very nice to see you.
We will hope we won't ruin it for you.
Don't traumatize.
To be honest, you're the first person we've seen in a very long time. So.
We've just got to pretend to be normal again, haven't
yes, we have.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself and Unividual, obviously, and thank you for being a patron of the most recent patron of Radio Bath. It means a lot to us. Yeah, I'd love to know your story.
We're really excited to be a patron. I think Bath's been crying out for a DAB radio station for a long time, and I suppose all of us have felt recently a bit isolated with COVID, and it just reminds us the important role that the radio station plays. So we're really proud to be able to support it for this year.
Yeah.
In terms of ourselves, we are a financial advice business on the Upper Bristol Road in Bath. Family run. My father founded the company and me and my brother are co-directors alongside him. We help families and businesses with their finances and manage their money on every area, whether it's a mortgage or help with retirement planning, whatever it is they're looking to get support with. We've been established for 20 years and we've been in Bath for a very long time, so we're quite passionate about the city.
Were you born in Bath?
I wasn't, no. I went to school in Bath, so I've been here since I was about 14 years old.
Oh, great.
I went to Kingswood School.
Oh, yes.
Fond memories. Greg went to Kingswood School as well.
I was actually born in the IUH in Bath, so I am.
Really?
I'm going to say
You're
born
You
and
can't
born and
beat
bred.
me over that
I'm
one.
going to trump you on that one, and I was born and bred in Bath. I'm good
And
with.
you knew each other from school?
No.
Well,
unfortunately, I'm a lot older than Greg.
it was. We were close we almost overlapped, didn't we? A little bit. I think we were a year or two, but I was probably a couple of years too young to really notice.
Thank God, because he was very naughty at school.
I was not, for the record.
That's going live on the recording.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great. So why be a patron? I mean, we appreciate the value of DAB radio, but why be a patron of Radio Bath?
I just think it's really exciting having Radio Bath as part of the city, and it's all run by volunteers. It's very community based, and sort of. I first heard about it through Lorraine, you heard about it through Nikki, and we both came in one week and we were like, I've got something I want to tell you, and I said, no, I've got something I want to tell you, and we realised that we'd both decided independently that we wanted to be part of Radio Bath and had the same idea.
Yeah, there's a really healthy overlap, I think, about how Radio Bath wants to work with the community as well, and some of the projects that we've got, exciting projects, which unfortunately we weren't able to really act upon many of them last year with everything going on, but we're ready to go for them now, aren't we, with some of the local schools and younger people in the community. It's quite passionate about a lot of those things, aren't we? Yeah,
and I think there's a big stigma about financial services. Not many people understand that financial advice is very accessible. About only 8% of the population in 2019 actually used a financial advisor. And what we want to do is just say to local people, we understand that money is quite stressful. It's something that you don't want to always talk about, and we want to share those anxieties and say it's okay. You can come and talk to us about it, because the sooner you talk about it, the sooner you can get something done about it. And we just felt that radio was a really good platform to have those conversations, rather than just an advert in a magazine or a press release in the newspaper.
Yeah, and I see you guys have a lot of personality behind financial services. I mean, sometimes
some too much, eh?
Wouldn't speak too bad yourself, right? But it's just you have to let the personality. I think a lot of people are intimidated talking to financial people because they look so smart, or maybe you have to be super uber wealthy, you know. But it's so good to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And after the break, the songs that we'll enjoy together, I'd like to talk about forming financial habits, good financial habits, probably not just in kids, but also in adults.
You say you're teaching the children, so the adults actually listen as well.
It's all these pent-up buying that we haven't bought anything for 18 months.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that, definitely.
You asked us to cue up a song for you. It's Empire State of Mind by Katy by Alicia Keys. Oops. Why? Who are you shouting it out for?
My partner Laura, this is one of her favourite songs. We absolutely love Alicia Keys, and we were meant to go and see her in concert, and twice it's been cancelled because of COVID. So it's a good song for today, yeah.
Okay, so this is for her.
Made locally in Bath. This is Radio Bath.
And we're back with Brave Business Conversations with Cherie-Anne and Greg. So we were just talking about, how unstuffy financial planning actually is. And certainly personalities like you make it even more unstuffy.
What's she trying to say?
I don't know. Like, maybe I came into the room with too much personality today.
Oh, it's so good. It's all these pent-up friendliness that I have over the last 18 months. So why is talk to me about good money habits, especially now. We were talking about pent-up buying, right? As soon as the high street opens, everybody's just like, whoosh, right? What is good money habits? How do you build it? Why is it so important?
I think the main importance behind it is now because there have been so many studies, haven't there, about financial well-being and how that links into sort of overall mental well-being as well. And I think certainly when we're younger and when we're children, we don't even recognise that we can be stressed out by money problems, even if they're our parents' problems at that point in time. And we were talking before the show, weren't we, about some of the things about you don't even realise how stressful sometimes you can be when you have something going wrong financially. Until you're in those situations. So forming those good habits, forming quite simple structures in your life, which can put you in a really good stead if things happen financially which aren't great. And we always have those situations present themselves in our lives. So it really just protects as much as you can against that, really.
I remember when I came out of university and I had my first job, and my dad, who obviously is a financial advisor, he sat down with me and said, you really need to contribute to your pension. And this was before we had workplace pensions. I was like, Dad, seriously, I want to save for a car. I want to go on holiday with my mates. I want to go out clubbing. Like, I don't want to be saving for retirement. And he sat down with me and showed me the importance of how things grow over time. And I thought, you know what? I can do both. So I started just putting about 10, 11% of what I earn into my pension. And I sort of got down towards my 30s, realised I had a little nest egg there, and it gave me so much more flexibility. I think if parents could have, I'm really privileged and lucky because my dad is a financial advisor, but if all parents could be having these conversations with their children, we could be creating the next generation of people that are having less worries about retirement, which is only going to grow in importance because we don't even know whether a state pension is even going to be around in the future.
And I think the pension, especially for aging countries, I come from Indonesia, the average age of the population is 29.
Wow.
We have 250 million
I didn't know
people. That. In Europe, maybe in the UK as well, it's an aging population. Same in Singapore when I was living there. People just don't have kids, okay? But I think it's also important for when a parent is stressed out over finance, they create a certain home environment, don't they? And then these kids growing up, they have a certain... I don't know, what's your experience? What kind of nonverbal teaching are these kids getting when parents are worried about their finances?
I think it manifests into their everyday little lives. They're going into school and they're feeling bad about buying a chocolate bar or a packet of crisps because mum and dad are finding it difficult to afford their food. And I think it's about trying to have open conversations with children about why they're in that situation and trying to educate them. And it's really easy for me to say I don't have children myself, but I think we're just trying to raise awareness of how you can be transparent, because at the end of the day they're going to be up in their bedrooms hearing everything that you're saying. Kids are smart, they pick up on cues and things, and we need to create some positivity around conversations with money instead of it all being about debt all the time.
Well, the Money Advice Service, I think it was with Cambridge, wasn't it? Cambridge University, they did a study which showed that 7-year-olds were picking up and starting to form financial habits and sort of an impression of how finances can affect a family at that age. And I read it, and I remember we were looking at it together, weren't we? And it was staggering. But children are picking up a lot of things these days a lot earlier, and actually it just sort of reiterates the point that what happens within the family home, stress, happiness, all those things. The good and the bad are passed on to children at such a young age, and I think the more people are aware of that, then the better we're lining people up, really.
And technology has an impact as well, doesn't
Massively
it?
so.
Because if you look at a mobile phone and what we can now do in terms of our money on our phone, and children, I mean, I remember I don't think I had a mobile phone until I was about 17 or 18. And nowadays some kids are having them at 10, 11 years old. And their parents are saying, oh, if you want that ice cream, use my phone, double tap it, go and pay. They're getting experience of doing these things now on phones and having access to cards and things through quick contactless payment. So the quicker that you can actually get your children to understand what they're doing and have those things for themselves, the better. There are companies out there that do kids cards, cash cards, where you can upload their allowance onto it, and it can be linked to chores that they've done in the house, where they can earn money and then choose to save or spend it with their cards. There's lots of ways.
Is that an app now? So that's
that's
a
a card and an
That's
app.
amazing.
Yeah.
We used to do gold stars,
Yeah,
in the
back
fridge.
in the
Stuck-
day.
yeah, stuck up on the fridge, yeah.
And you have a manual
Yeah.
conversion to cash.
Yeah, with those little magnetic letters that
Yes,
said
of
your
course.
name.
We had a crabapple tree. Now, this is going back some time now. We had a crabapple tree in the front garden, and I remember my mum used to pay me and my sister a penny for every crabapple that we picked up, just because it used to kill the grass. And I remember us being very, very competitive. We actually worked out that if one of us picked and one of us then put it in the buckets and did it correctly, we'd actually earn more as a collective than if we did it individually. But I think there was definitely some underhand tactics going on at some point there.
So you learn financial habits and strategy.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
How can we get some extra pennies to
Yeah.
have mum and dad?
But it's interesting about the forming good financial habits, because if you are always brought up worried about cash or something, and it's all that pent up fear, and I think psychologically when you are stressed yourself, sometimes you overspend because you have to indulge yourself in things that you were not allowed to have. And when you have a balanced approach to finance, knowing when to spend and not to spend, you can also avoid people doing stress shopping.
Yes.
You know, it's a bit like,
And with the
anything.
ease of things, we've all been shopping online, and now the high streets are thankfully opening back up a little bit. It's very easy now to go out and spend quite a considerable amount of money,
Yeah.
especially with contactless and
Yeah.
where you
Taps.
are on your credit cards or debit cards. It's very, very easy, isn't it, to spend a lot of money very quickly.
Gone are the days when I was 23, 24, living off 40 quid a week to afford my petrol and food. And I think it can be really easy to be walking down the high street and be really enticed. It's really important we support the local high street and all of the shops opening. But at the same time, we have to remember that we should have long-term objectives that we're working towards, and it shouldn't be at the detriment of those.
This is Radio Bath.
And we're still here at the studio. Try not to laugh too much. We wouldn't want you to think that we're having too much fun.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
not
so
working
This is a
today.
very serious business
Yeah,
show.
sorry.
Brave
sorry.
business conversation. Yes. Good. So we talked about, by the way, you are Cherie-Anne Baxter and Greg Harris from Unividual, a patron of Radio Bath. And you are a business with purpose. But I think financial advice is a bit of a jargon. Okay, financial advice. It's like, oh yeah, I think I need it, but then you don't know what it is, right? So can you tell us, what are the typical financial advice that normal people need?
I think really, from my point of view, it's about giving people, without sounding really cliche, tools and understanding. So very often people will come to us and they might come to us for a mortgage or some pension advice or some sort of planning with tax or something like that. And actually, when you get to understand the family or the individuals that you're involved with, or even the businesses, actually that's not necessarily what they need. They just want help and guidance through certain times in their business or personal lives, and having a person or a company or a firm, however you want to describe it, that provides financial planning is just that. They are there for when the people need them, and also then they can put in and make sure that people are almost held to account on certain objectives. So it's a commonly misunderstood. I know we've sort of spoken about this before, and financial advice used to be, and to a certain extent still is, a bit of a dirty word, and financial advisors haven't always had the best reputations, and for some of them quite understandably so. So it's really about, for us, making sure that people have all the tools and all the resources that they need, and sometimes it'll even be a position of actually going away and just giving them resources so they can make their own decisions on things, rather than being told and being sort of dictated to, this is what you must do because of X, Y, and Z.
Well, I think if you add to your client's knowledge, then they decide to do this investment fully aware of what are the consequences and risks and everything, then they're more empowered to do it. And next time, they're more knowledgeable to make future decisions.
It's very much our style.
It's a partnership, I think, is what we like to create, and that's not always possible.
No.
And some people don't want that. Some people want the person that's going to say, "What is my best option? Tell me what to do," and that's absolutely fine. But a lot of people, they want, as exactly you've just described, they want to know the information as much as they need, and then that they can feel like they're making a decision, but with the support of someone sat there in the background who actually puts their name to the advice at the end of the day. So it is definitely a partnership approach that we have adopted, and we think certainly is beneficial for our clients.
I think different clients need different things as well. So my brother Lewis, who's a chartered financial planner, he does my finances for me, and he'll sit down and he'll look at, you know, my budget, and he'll say, okay, this is how much you guys earn. You should have a lot more disposable income than what you're sort of telling me. Let's break that down. Let's have a look at the budget. And then you realise actually you're spending money in these areas that you perhaps didn't know about or you didn't think you were. And then once they've looked at that, okay, what do you guys want to achieve? So do you want to retire at a particular age? Do you want to save for a house? Do you want to make sure your family's protected if you've got children? And once he's helped realise those objectives of what those are, he would then put something, you know, some strategies in place and put some ideas to you of how you could achieve those, which involve saving, putting money away. Sometimes it involves things like tax mitigation, stuff like that. So it's all about you and what you're looking to achieve. But sometimes as individuals, we don't know what we want to achieve, and we need someone there to bounce ideas off and get some idea, you know, get some insight in what we could actually achieve. And I'll never forget the day when my brother plotted out until I was about 70 my current situation and where I would be and how much I would be worth. And I was like, wow, I'm doing really well for my age. You know, I'm really ahead of the curve. That's really good. And it made me feel really safe when I went to bed at night, knowing that I was okay. But also knowing if I did spend a bit too much, that he'd reel things back in for me and say, okay, stop doing this, stop doing that. We need to put some more. He's banging on my door at the moment. We need to put more money into your pension.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good time
Stop buying houses.
It's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, talking about buying houses and everything, I grew up with the best way to invest is land and property.
Yes, many of us are like grow up
and
like
to be
that.
fair, in the 80s, in my part of the world, the property market was booming, but no more, right?
No, yeah.
And so the whole mindset, so every time there's a property come to market, like, ooh, I gotta buy that one. Ooh, if it's a good deal. But then I realized what my financial planner educated me on was the importance of having, you know, the cash, financial, you know, mutual funds. So now I invest in like sustainability funds and everything, which is doing really, really well for the last 18 months, right? And then now every time I remember there's one property that just went up for you know, on sale in Bath, and it was a great deal, and my instinct was like, buy it now. You know, but it's a past
This
conditioning.
is sending shivers down my spine.
It's not. It's like, well, how long will it take for a capital gain? You know, and is it really going to give you the yield? Is it, it's 3% yield a year after you renovated it and spend how much in renovation? You know, so these kinds of things is no longer true. But if you're not careful, not educated, you know, the past conditioning of how your parents tried to tell you.
We talk about this a lot. We tend to, not just with our finances, but we always go to our parents for advice and support, don't we, about everything. So if our parents sort of grew up, like you say, in the 80s, if that property boom, that's like the go-to of how they made money, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing now. I mean, I let out a property and it's an absolute nightmare. It went into negative equity at one point. I've got tenants signing up for a year, then leaving. I've just been telling Greg that there's a leak going down into the apartment below, and the bath is like practically moving out of its place. So all these things I'm dealing with whilst trying to run a business during COVID, you know, it's not ideal having property.
It's a very hands-on investment, I think. You've got to be acceptant of the fact that it's not something that you can just tuck away a bit of equity and leave it doing its thing. You're going to have the best tenants throughout the term of that plan, and you know you're never going to have any issues with non-payments or anything like that. And then, you know, without getting really technical, you've got liquidity and all those other kind of factors which often people overlook because it's bricks and mortar, and I get that. When you're going into shares or funds, you don't really see it. You might get get a statement through and you don't really see it. I mean, some of the more sustainability bits that are coming through now, real big fan of, and you're right, they've done very well because they're at the forefront of everyone's mind now. People want to be seen, especially young people now, want to be seen as investing into something that's going to benefit their future. We know that the world's in a lot of difficulty at the moment from a environmental, social, arguably even a governance point of view as well. But having people where their pensions are invested, they might not need them for 20, 30 years, but in something that's going to benefit longer term, I can really see the value in that, and so can a lot of investors.
Yeah, so you said that financial planning should be multi-generational, right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this is really interesting. If you look at the amount of wealth that is transferred over to people's children, it normally accounts for around 69 billion. But by 2027, that's actually going to double to 115 billion. So what that means is that there's going to be an enormous amount of wealth passed down to people's children. And when you're in an environment where those children are using technology, there are deep concerns about how that money is going to be treated and what's going to happen to it, because wealth is really important, not just for individuals, but for our economy and for the country that we live in and everything around us. For example, your sustainable funds that you've got at the moment, if you didn't invest into those, how would we develop as a country from an environmental point of view? Look at the work that we've done in and around wind farms. That will all have come from people like yourself who've invested into that kind of thing. So it's really important that we're educating not just our clients and the adults, but also the children. And one of the things that we're doing at Univigil is trying to get our clients' kids involved in meetings and understanding what's going on from a wealth point of view and a structure point of view, so that when their parents sadly pass away, they understand what they've got there and what to do with it, and they have a relationship like with Greg, where he's looked after their parents, he can then look after those children.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because sometimes, because of the relationship, parents can't always talk about finances, and children don't know what to ask. And suddenly, when it's too late, you've got no one to ask, and they could be cheated if they don't understand.
And it's about having another voice in the room, I think. I think sometimes, children are reluctant to listen to their parents, no matter how good or the advice is. They don't always listen. I know. I made that suggestion.
Right?
Yes. I apologise. I
so listen to my parents all the time.
Well, I'll hold my hands up. I didn't.
Oh, you're the honest one.
But I think having someone else in the room, granted they may only listen and take in 10% of what you're saying, but you're then that person that are supporting the parents through that. Right, okay, don't take out a £5,000 credit card as soon as you turn 18 because someone's offering it to you, because actually you'll end up going and buying a big holiday and using it up straight away. And you'd be surprised how many people that happens to, and it just completely ruins their financial records for a long, long time.
And I just got free credit cards in the mail. I was like, you guys still do this?
Yeah.
I used to sell credit cards. So
so you were one of them.
No, it's fine. The credit card died now. But it's so true. And sometimes when you're like, what do you mean, Mom? I can't take out £5,000 from my blah blah blah, and it becomes a personal argument.
Yes.
And to be fair, if someone was in the middle saying, well, actually, this is the reason. It's not personal. It's just for your own good. And sometimes I think it takes skill to explain finance in a understandable way, and sometimes not all parents come with that skill, and it gets just like too complicated. It
is really difficult. I never worked in the industry. I've now been in the company for 6 years, and when I first joined, the journey of learning I had to go on was phenomenal, because what I wanted to do was help people understand what the hell this industry is, and what is a pension, like how would you explain that? And we've got a section on our website of financial guides, and trying to take what these guys do but put it into a language that people can understand is literally an art form. It's really difficult.
It is.
And we have to do it, and not enough companies in our industry are doing it, which means that people are still stuck in this limbo and don't know where to go for help.
This is Radio Bath.
And we're still with Brave Business Conversation. We've got Cherie-Anne and Greg from Univigil. We've been talking about how to educate your kids, how to educate your kids about good financial habits, why it's important, how do we get our financial conditioning, what are some of the activities you've got planned for the community?
So we hopefully in the next few months, provided unlocking of lockdown happens as it's said it will do, where we're going to go into a few local schools. I think our next one's at Kingswood School. Yeah. Kingswood School in Bath. So look, by all means, if you want to get in touch with us because you're a school that wants us to come in and talk to your sick form normally, then very happy to do so. Just let us know.
Good. And how do we find you? What's the best way to contact you?
Probably through the website. I'd encourage people to go there first and have a look at some of the case studies that the clients have written about us. There's a lot of free financial guides on the website, and you can really get a feel for whether a financial advisor is even the right thing for you. Then have a look at the Money Advice Service, look at all of the financial advisors in your local area, and try to get a feel for which one you think is best for you. And then if we come out on top, that's brilliant. Get in touch with us. One of our advisors will get in touch with myself, and I can make sure we pair you up with the right person.
Excellent. And you'll be back on the show. 6th of July, we've
back.
just decided.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Bath.
Yeah,
I mean, what?
More
Hopefully
of
we'll
this,
have more
guys.
interaction. We'll have more interaction by then, so we won't be quite as odd.
More of this business fun chat.
And we were just talking about the topic. We're going to talk about relationships, women or same-sex relationships. How do you secure your personal finance if you are in a relationship with someone? Because sometimes, some relationships fall apart, but how do you protect yourself? So looking forward to having you guys on. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
supporting
having
Radio
us.
Bath.
Yeah, it's been
And
great,
thank you for being
Cynthia.
so much fun.
Yeah, it's
I
cheered
bet
up
our
your day.
friendliness has been expressed.
Yeah,
All right.
good times.